We can rebuild it. We have the technology. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU, for a Rare Modern video, and today we're running back a list from the beginning of April. So, John B has asked me to play this Saga Goblins deck again, and this was kind of a crazy deck. The potential here lies in cards like Crime Novelist. Whenever we sacrifice an artifact, we can put a +1/+1 counter on this creature and then add some red mana. And we're going to have some things that let us sacrifice artifacts and creatures for some good value. So for example, with Krenko, we can sacrifice an artifact to put a +1/+1 counter on each goblin we control, and whenever an artifact is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, we can pay 1 red mana. If we do, we make a red goblin creature token. We can also just make some creature tokens, some goblins, with cards like Kuldotha Rebirth. And this time around, we are going to be rocking some things like Mox Opal to power out our expensive cards, and we're just going to play a few more generically good cards this time. I was hurting for getting to 3 mana and hurting to have enough artifacts last time around to kind of do my thing, and Ragavan is going to help us with that. The treasure tokens are going to be great to get us to 3 mana, and again, when we sacrifice artifacts, we can get some value. So if we have a treasure token, we can sacrifice that treasure token, trigger Krenko, and then just convert it immediately into a goblin. We can then later sacrifice those goblins for damage. And if we end up sacrificing artifacts, such as Mox Opals and treasure tokens, we can start going ham with Crime Novelist. Once we accrue some goblin tokens, we can just make them big, either with Krenko or by cranking some mana into Battlecry Goblin. While we don't get to play the good artifact lands in Modern, we are going to throw a couple of artifact lands in this mana base to go and just make sure that we have some random artifacts that we can sacrifice to get the chain going. We're not always just going to have experimental synthesizers to help out. Sideboard has 4 Molten Rain. Let's go. Enough said about the sideboard. Let's jump into it. Let's see how this goes. If you like what you see today, on April 3rd, I released the original version of this video that goes into a little bit more detail about some of the interactions that might come up with these creatures. And should you decide that you need some goblins for your collection, check out toamagic.com. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order. You know you're going to get free shipping. You know you're going to get good customer service. And if you're going to go to an upcoming event, say MagicCon Vegas, look for this purple banner. There's going to be some great in-person deals under it, especially on like cool HP, MP, legacy cards and stuff like that. That being said, let's battle. Okay, I think I'm willing to keep this one here. We're going to go land and Chromatic Star on turn 1. And let's just look at the wording of this. When this artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. You do not necessarily have to go and do this by using the mana ability here. We can blow this up with Kuldotha Rebirth and get our card draw out of it. We've got an Ugin's Labyrinth from my opponent into a Mana Rock. And if you are wondering why I commented on Molten Rain in the sideboard being sweet, it's for things like this. Opponent finds Kozilek's Command. So with a third land here, I can go play Battlecry Goblin this turn, and then next turn, Kuldotha Rebirth and activate Battlecry Goblin for haste. And then maybe I end up with an artifact that lets me activate Krenko the following turn. That seems fine. We are on paper not coming out of the gates quickly here, but assuming that we do not eat a red sweeper that kills all of my creatures, this probably ends up going pretty hard here. Malevolent Rumble, which will be getting my opponent a land. Eldrazi Temple specifically. What if we get another artifact here? What if we get a Mox Opal? What if we get a Mox Opal? Oh, it wouldn't be turned on though, I guess. Ragavan. Ragavan's cool, but maybe not just cooler than Bash. So we go to Punchies. It is turn 3. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Plus Battlecry Goblin triggers for a 10th point of damage. Not bad. Opponent's just gonna eat 3 here and end up at 12. So, does something big and scary happen here? Ancient Stirring gets Eye of Ugin. And then opponent passes. Dash Ragavan? And pump into Battlecry Goblin? Or just Battlecry Goblin pump twice, save resources. I think I'm going to... Or actually, I don't need to activate immediately. I still have power 6 going into combat. My opponent might try to exile this right here before I get my attack trigger. This is exactly what I was fucking talking about. So I think this was the wrong timing for my opponent. I think you let me attack, potentially pump a bunch of mana into this, and get the blowout. I think they could have gotten more value. I think I am into dropping Fable of the Mirror Breaker and dropping Ragavan. Either way, I'm not getting a pre-combat artifact next turn. All right, we're just chilling. Goblin Bombardment. Make treasure token. Do crimes? I think I keep my cards. I think I attack and don't play this pre-combat. This coming back for 5 damage potentially at instant speed. Not great, right? I want this artifact. I think I am going to cast this and see if my opponent pulls the trigger on casting something that triggers Kozilek's Return immediately. All right, they did not. What about when I go to combat? No. Trigger. So this is Kozilek's Command for X equals 5. Ooh, this is Eldrazi creature spell. I'm an idiot. It's not Eldrazi spell. I could have played pre-combat Krenko. Bottom X5. Wild. Opponent's at 9, threatening Kozilek's Return for 5 damage. I think that means that I'm just making as many bodies as possible to throw via Goblin Bombardment if bad things happen. And then next turn I potentially play Krenko. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 already. I think I can leave my opponent with that mana. I don't think I need to ping spawns here. I don't know, maybe my opponent returning World Breaker and junking my bombardment is a problem. Give up so much damage to stop that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That only would have cost 1 spawn anyway. World Breaker trigger targets Fable of the Mirror Breaker. And now I guess I'm in this really awkward position where if I sack out my board, my opponent leaves Kozilek's Return in graveyard. This is a single trigger. So I guess we're going face. And just hoping that I can finish things out. This will bring my opponent to 4 when everything is said and done. Kozilek's Return is really good against my deck. Malevolent Rumble now. Picking up a Talisman of Impulse. I think my volume's a little too loud. I think you might have gotten a little sound there. A Krenko. I will play one of those. And this is probably just 1 damage to face here. I would love to find an artifact that I can sack to make more goblins. I don't need a lot here. Oh no. Fuck, you gain 3 life? I'm in shambles. Fuck. Basically. That's a Planeswalker Plus that doubles my opponent's life total. That's some shit. What are the other words on this card? I know it's bad. 3 mana. Search your library for any number of colorless non-land cards. Exile them, shuffle. You can cast them without paying their mana costs. Yeah, we can simply not exist anymore. Molten Rains, baby. Get in there. Do I want a Pithing Needle that Ugin? I'm kind of hoping the game is over before that point, if I am being honest. We don't need Soul Guide Lantern. Is this a 1-ring deck? Forget what all is legal in this format. I don't play Modern very much. Did that get banned in this format yet? I think it did. So it looks like we got Sowing Mycospawn, some Emrakul's, World Breakers, Karn, Ugin, Kozilek's Command, all is dust. So Needling Karn is reasonable. Probably don't need Shadow Spear most of the time. I probably don't need Pyrite Spellbomb most of the time. Seems like my Fables are likely to get exiled by my opponent's shit. And do I want to keep the animation module? that can make me a whole bunch of artifacts. It is a pretty neat Urza Saga target that can go wild with Crime Novelist. I think I'm going to keep it. I'll go down like one more 3-drop. I am adding 4 3-drops into my deck. I've got dudes on turn 1. I have a Molten Rain that I'm not the best at casting. How much of my deck is mana? So there will be 20 lands remaining, some of which are ETB tapped lands. I don't think I like this on 7. I think I would keep that on 6. This I like. So we can turn 1 land Mox Opal, Kuldotha Rebirth, turn 2 dash Ragavan, attacking for 5 on turn 2 that way. This is fine. Yeah, and Rebirth. There's some timelines where I could play Experimental Synthesizer on turn 2 if things get a little weird. The problem here is that although I have some really sweet, aggressive stuff that I can be doing here, Ozilek's return is instant and a board wipe in a way that makes me a sad panda. I think I am going to commit to Urza Saga this turn, dash Ragavan, and be excited about the treasure token that I am making here. Forest. Not interested in playing that. And then I think I will just pass the turn, bounce the Ragavan. And my goal is to eventually make some treasure tokens that are, some Urza Saga Construct tokens that are just bigger than what my opponent is doing. Luckily, in this format, Sowing Mycospawn does not represent Wasteland. Is that under there? Oh, it's the alt art Emrakul. Okay. Now my opponent has a 3/3 blocker. I have a Goblin Bombardment. So if I make an Urza Saga token, it is currently a 2/2. They will get bigger fast. I think I'm okay committing mana to this for a little while. Don't think I'm going to dash Ragavan into Sowing Mycospawn or anything. We'll just call it a turn here. This 3/3 body, in addition to just being +2 on mana, is an incredibly good rate. I get bogged. That means there's no red mana showing in the short term. So that's nice. Talisman. Now there's red mana showing. Make a Deuter. And we'll repeat this again. Man, that's really good. I probably need to cast that. All right. I'm going to grab Mox Opal here, which is currently a mana source. We're going to Molten Rain the Ugin's Labyrinth. I think to make this a 4/4, I am interested in casting Experimental Synthesizer. Hit Pithing Needle, which I am, I think, fine with casting, but I'm going to do it post-combat. I'm also going to attack with all of these Deuters. I think that's favorable for me. So if my opponent attacks a 1/1, I push 6 damage, and then I can play the Pithing Needle without necessarily having Sowing Mycospawn block this and losing my creature here. So now there's this window where if I cast this Pithing Needle, I lose this Construct token, which is a weird spot. 3 damage next turn with Goblin token. I have 5 damage next turn with Ragavan. And pretty much lethal with Goblin Bombardment anyway. I think I'm just going to leave this in exile. Because if I name Ugin, my opponent still gets value from an ETB cast trigger. My opponent does Karn. They can't like Karn plus Ensnaring Bridge in all likelihood. Black mana. Or is that... Oh, that's just black from Bojuka Bog. It is Null Drifter instead. Which is a 4/4. Ooh. We pop off with Krenko. So play Krenko, sack treasure, turn treasure into a goblin is interesting. I would be okay making this trade, dealing my opponent 3 and getting Goblin Bombardment into play. There's also some lines where I sack Experimental Synthesizer with Krenko. I would really like to go +1 artifact here to make this block more awkward for my opponent. Can't dash Ragavan and pre-combat Goblin Bombardment. I think I'm okay with that. So let's dash Ragavan. Presume that my opponent blocks with the Construct token, meaning that I can let the treasure token go. post-combat. So Ragavan trigger, get my treasure. Oh, I'm so glad we took that off the top of the deck. We're not going to cast that one. So then I will go Goblin Bombardment here. I have 4 damage. I am going to send the Ragavan at my opponent's face immediately, so I don't have to recast that later. And they are sitting effectively at 1 life, with Krenko sacrificing Synthesizer or Treasure Token, and next turn being a very real thing. Also just cast Krenko 4 damage to face. It's a big spell. It is World Breaker targeting my Goblin Bombardment. So I think I let that go, play Krenko, sack an artifact, and have lethal. Alright, good stuff. Molten Rain, also cool. So, yeah. Sacrifice an artifact, experimental synthesizer trigger. There's a Battlecry Goblin, and my opponent has conceded the game. We have lethal. We do not have much wiggle room in this matchup. My opponent's big plays are scary, but we have a lot of aggression. Should I be thinking about Galvanic Blast as 4 to the dome? I don't think so. I don't know that my Metalcraft is consistent enough for it to always be 4 damage. Yes. This is a keep, and I will decide whether or not I am playing Ragavan on 1 naturally or dashing Ragavan on 2 based on what my first draw of the game is. 18 and ramp. It is another Ragavan. I think I just do it in the way that attacks for the most damage on turn 2, which is 5. Rebirth. Ghost Quarter. So fucking afraid of Kozilek's Return. It's so incredibly good. No! Alright. 3 mana. That's a Malevolent Rumble with a green floating. And they get and play Eldrazi Temple. Into a second Malevolent Rumble. And get a Sowing Mycospawn. Yep. Oh, we're doing more. We're not doing more. Battlecry Goblin. Dash Ragavan kills a spawn, which seems relevant. But let's attempt to get in there. The issue is this Kozilek's Return is just looming, and it's so hard for me to build a creature presence to get an engine going here. Yep. Now I don't get my treasure token. We'll get a tapped land out of the way and bounce Ragavan back to hand. I think we're dead. I think it takes a couple turns, but I think we lose from here. Let's see what opponent's cooking. This could just be 7-drop territory already, or this could be another turn of Sowing Mycospawn setup into something scary. This is kick Sowing Mycospawn, so I'm going to lose my bridge. And my opponent just picks up a basic here. I guess hedging against a potential Blood Moon. And Ancient Stirrings afterwards. That's why the Forest. Picking up World Breaker, so now the enchantments and artifacts that I play out aren't safe. My Ragavan doesn't dash in well. If I play out Battlecry Goblin, it ends up getting just eaten by Kozilek's Return off of World Breaker. So I think my line is just cast a Ragavan past the turn and see if my opponent is willing to blow Kozilek's Return just on clearing a Ragavan. I imagine that the answer to that question is no. Oh, it's just another kick Sowing Mycospawn. Fuck. Okay. Note that this sucks a little bit. What's the exact wording? What do you get to tutor for? Colorless creature. Sure. Concede? World Breaker into Sanctum of Ubin, get another creature while already having creatures larger than mine on board. I think this is the point where I can tap out. Kozilek's Return is really rough to play against with my deck. But that said, I think this was a really good first round for the deck. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and I could say all sorts of great things about them, but I'm just going to point to this number. I have 488 deck lists stored on this site. That should give you a feel for how I feel about this website. And if you were to go to my profile, you could see all the deck lists that I'm messing around with, including my EDH decks, and you can even see some of the deck lists I record with before they hit the channel. Ooh. Okay, so we've got kind of a tricky to evaluate hand here. I have some long-term potential with Krenko and Animation Module, but I am really not coming out of the gates quickly with this hand. I think this hand is too slow for Modern, but I'm going to keep it for science to see how this plays out. I think this usually ends up being turn 1 tapped land, turn 2 mountain after playing Synthesizer, and then drop animation module. Got some cantrip stuff going on over there. Maybe some sort of Murktide Regent deck or something like that. Top. Ooh, kind of drastically changes this hand. To avoid lightning bolt style effects, you could make the argument that I'm not supposed to play the Ragavan on turn 1 to like not telegraph this to my opponent, but I don't really know what they're doing yet, so I'm just gonna play the Ragavan. Black fetch land now, just for a mountain. Slick Shot Show Off. You've got it. Opponent is gonna turn it sideways. We should expect this to deal an exceptional amount of damage to me. I am going to get a bonus artifact this turn. I can have 3 mana this turn, post-combat. I think I am interested in hitting with Ragavan and seeing what I reveal before I make any plays of my own. Like, I could reveal a lightning bolt effect that lets me just kill this creature before my opponent does something disgusting with it. What is this? Violent Urge. Target creature gets +1/+0 in first strike until end of turn. Delirium for double strike. Okay. We're not going to cast that one, but that is neat. I think I am going to do things that increase my damage output. A Kuldotha Rebirth from Exile. I'm in. Now we can re-trigger Synthesizer. Hitting a land would be cool. Chromatic Star? Okay. I would like to cast that. But if I want to Krenko and juice up the goblins next turn, I need to play this tapped artifact land. I'm going to play the tapped artifact land. I think that is the disciplined decision. Despite the fact that there's some crazy upside of playing the Chromatic Star and then like sacrificing it to Kuldotha Rebirth, drawing a card, and ripping through stuff. Oh, hello card banned in Legacy. It's sort of wild to me how things that were just completely out of fucking line for Legacy end up being okay in Modern when they are finding less good cards. So like Ragavan and Dreadhorde Arcanist in the context of highly efficient Delver Shells in Legacy were just like unquestionable absolute bullshit. And then in Modern they're like, yeah, you can do these. This is fine. I don't know how much free stuff my opponent is playing. Like, I don't know how many Gut Shot, or the green Phyrexian pump spell things are going on here that punish me for a block. I'm just going to take this and hope that I kill my opponent before they kill me. Mutagenic Growth. There we go. This is 9. Oh no, it's more than 9. That's 14. My opponent... Oh god! Am I dead for not... I am dead for not playing around triple Mutagenic Growth. Guess that's on me! Fuck. Galvanic Blast killing small creatures sometimes works, but Mutagenic Growth is a thing. Same thing is true of Pyrite Spellbomb, I suppose. Soul Guide Lantern can go here. Some number of 3-drops can go here. Let's assume that some of the slower engine things don't have time to get going in this matchup. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to die there. I thought it was going to hurt, and that I would have a decent chance of killing my opponent on the backswing. This is fine. This Mox Opal is very bad right now, and I'm considering whether or not I'm trying to keep it for Metalcraft with Ragavan in the future. I think the answer is yes, I do, because I already have 3 land drops here. I'll do this and pass. Mountain from my opponent. Bobble. Great way to fuel Delirium. Is my Ragavan dead? We'll find out. I really don't have anything else going on other than this Ragavan. So losing this would be a massive blow. Yeah. Lava Dart. Alright. ETB tapped land. Pass turn. I have boarded out a couple of 3-drops here. So my density of powerful draws that are just bigger than my opponent's creatures has gone down a bit. But it seems like my opponent does not have the early aggressive creatures this time. So maybe we'll just rip an experimental synthesizer and kind of go wild. Oh, okay. I mean, Yeah, we'll take it. Turn Mox Opal into 3 goblins. Keeping the Mox Opal from the opening hand was perfectly fine. And now what do we want? Like Battlecry Goblin off the top? My little goblins here are not particularly safe. But it's also not a great prospect to just lava dart them at the cost of a land. So my opponent can try to grind me out for a little while here. There's a Swift Spear in exile, which my opponent casts. Is it aggro? It is not aggro. I'm very far away from Metalcraft, so I am going to trade this for a card one way or another. Whether I trade for a Mutagenic Growth or whether I trade for the Swift Spear, unclear. I trade for a Mutagenic Growth. Notably, the Galvanic Blast would deal 4 damage anyway, so we're not getting through that. Goodbye, Bridge. Yeah. Donde está Battlecry Goblin? I don't think it's worth attacking these into Monastery Swift Spear, losing 1 immediately. Opponent does not have Delirium yet. We've got Artifact Instant Sorcery. Don't like blocks on these all that much. It feels like as soon as I start chumping, I'm losing. I also just don't know how safe I am to sit back and try to assume that I am winning the long game, though. Alright, opponent's not putting pressure on me yet. I write Spell Bomb. I'll take it. I will attempt to kill a Swift Spear. This can always be stopped if my opponent wants it to be stopped. But if they're going to stop it, I want them to stop it on my turn. Oh, they just have Lightning Bolt? Sure. So that the prowess damage does not end up costing me life. Alright. Do you have another Surveil land? Now just grabbing a Steam Vents. The way I win this involves powering through probably all of my opponent's life in one turn, which means I need a bunch of goblins and a way to make them bigger. But, like, not blocking these is so scary. They just died from 19 last time I didn't block anything. Okay, cool, we are playing conservatively here. I'm at 14. Okay, Synthesizer, you gotta do some fucking work for me, bud. Trigger. I like where this is going. At Crime Novelist, which I unfortunately do not have the mana to cast. But we are getting close to that go wide of these blockers situation. Now I could potentially rip something like a Goblin Bombardment, attack in for 7, fling everybody afterwards. I have outs for lethal next turn. Unfortunately, I have sacrificed some lands. Everybody is coming in. If I block 2 of these, Bombardment is not lethal through Lava Dart anymore. I block 1 of these. My opponent Lava Dart's a creature with a Goblin Bombardment on the stack. That is still 14, so I think I block 1. Let the other through. Then hopefully I'm not dead. Okay, it's that double strikey thing. Violent Urge. That means I'm taking 8 damage from a DRC. Mutagenic Growth on top of that. I'm taking 12 damage from a DRC, which I believe means that I am just going to be dead. Yeah, I am at -1 here. Even if I blocked both of those, it is very possible that I am just, like, dead to Lava Dart or another spell in hand there. I was also drawing a blank next turn. GG's. Okay, we've got some cards here. I think this is going to be a keep. And I think I'm interested in Ragavan on 1 here. I also would not mind drawing a non-Urza's Saga land. A DRC. Another Crime Novelist. Sure. Let's drop the Ragavan on turn 1. This may be the same matchup that we just played. Mutagenic Growth immediately to just Surveil. Junking a card. My opponent is probably hyper-aggressively trying to turn this into a flyer so that Ragavan can't block. Lol, 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 lol. Alright, I am eating at least 5 damage immediately. Maybe more. Swift Spear. Sure. That is a DRC attacking for 5 immediately. Is opponent trading? Lava Dart can literally always save this Swift Spear if I try to Pyrite Spell Bomb it while also taking out my Ragavan. Okay. All right, opponent just trading here. So I'm going to go Urza's Saga, Animation Module, Pyrite Spellbomb, Mox Opal, which is now online. Then Pyrite Spellbomb is currently not killing any creatures. So let's Kuldotha Rebirth away. Pyrite Spellbomb. I have some friends. I have 2 artifacts now towards this Mox Opal being on. So I'd like to hit an artifact or a land next turn. It is Corey Steelcutter. I have wanted to see this card in action. I have heard people saying good things. So here's the fetch to do something. That is a Violent Urge. So now my opponent has a 4/3 double striker that's just going to hit me for 8. I probably have to trade with this body. I do have to put all 3 creatures in front of it because of Lava Dart. I guess my opponent can just Lava Dart my face and take out all 3 goblins. Hate that. Or they can just Lava Dart a goblin and deal me 1 anyway. A Mutagenic Growth and the Lava Dart. Sure, you don't need to Lava Dart a goblin though, right? Because you're 4 already. That I could be dead here instead of at 1. I'm dead either way though. Corey Steelcutter seems good here to keep you from running out of dudes to put pump spells on. Alright, what did we do last time? A couple of Galv Blasts in, a couple of Pyrite Spellbombs in, which are awkward, but what I'm dealing with. We went Soul Guide Lantern out. I think I trimmed a couple of higher CMC cards. Is it Crime Novelist or Fable? Maybe it's Fable. Maybe Crime Novelist has the potential to do more immediately in terms of popping off. I don't think we have enough controlling elements for this matchup. I don't think we have enough aggro for this matchup either. I think we end up in an awkward middle ground. My Galvanic Blasts dealing 2 damage is just so unlikely to kill my opponent's creatures with their prowess and mutagenic growths. But we'll try. Galv Blast you. Alright. It's dead. I don't want to play Synthesizer this turn. I think I'm just going to put a Chromatic Star into play for the future. Tarn. And a Corey Steelcutter. So this card is super unimpressive in instances that look like this, where you just play it and pass the turn. Am I doing this now? I think for the sake of my mana curve, I'm going to do this now. And then next turn, I can filter through a couple of Chromatic Stars and maybe do something cool. Maybe do something cool with Synthesizer. Maybe remove a creature. I can have Metalcraft next turn for 4 damage on Galv Blast. Alright, there's the Slick Shot Show Off. Now Corey Steelcutter triggers. So looking at our text here, this is whenever you cast your 2nd spell each turn, very specifically. So it does not continue to trigger on every spell like a Monastery Mentor might. So let's go Metalcraft here. Let's Galv Blast, the Slick Shot Show Off. And then let's see what we can make happen here. Just always yield to that. This is the first time we're seeing Crime Novelist do the things that I want Crime Novelist to do. I guess I'm just going to put a 2nd one into play. And I'm going to turn this sideways. I don't think I'm blocking this creature. With all of my opponent's resources, it's just very, very awkward to do so. Preordain, trigger. Bottom. Thundering Falls. Now they like their top card. Lava Dart, my face. Corey Steelcutter makes a dude. I don't think I get to block. Lava Dart just chilling there is exceptionally awkward. Violent Urge. Dead. Mutagenic Growth on top of it. So that is 16 damage from that monk token alone. Absolutely fucking disgusting. I cannot keep up with this deck. Okay. The single land here is rough. The Mox Opal helps. I could play Synthesizer on 2 to try to help hit a land drop. I have Krenko and Crime Novelist. Let's try to get those cards working together. This is a little sketch. Bloodstained Mire. Will we face the same deck for the 3rd round in a row? Ooh. That helps my curve a lot. Let's start with an ETB tapped land here. And then I will probably have 3 total mana next turn, but not 3 mana to play one of these. No, this is something different. I'll assume that this is some blue-black Psychic Frog bullshit. Yeah, there we go. Speaking of cards banned in Legacy. Saga? Saga's cool. Let's do that later, though. Let's just go Soul Guide Lantern, dink a card out of the graveyard there. That's probably correct to do this one. Experimental Synthesizer first. Yeah, that was a mistake, because now I don't really want to just play Experimental Synthesizer immediately. Oh well. So I need one more turn of setup. My opponent draws a card. Preordain. And a Thoughtseize. That's going to separate my 2 combo pieces here. Long term, we had Crime Novelist plus Krenko plus Animation module coming. I've lost Krenko. I'm going to lead on Synthesizer. I can sometimes hit 3 drops or lands off of this. Kuldotha Rebirth. That's slightly awkward because I would love to do that after I play Crime Novelist. I can do so if I nuke my opponent's graveyard? Yeah. Am I going in on this next turn? Probably. Okay. So drop Saga, play Crime Novelist, nuke my opponent's graveyard, get my +1/+1 counter and some mana. It's a very awkward Fatal Push situation. Didn't happen. Now, I don't think I want to sacrifice this turn. I think I just want to sacrifice Chromatic Star. Oh, now we care. Yeah, so if my opponent had Fatal Push, they could have stopped this initial trigger and not let me get Kuldotha Rebirth and thus another draw. My opponent is still quite favored here. We'll see what all they can put together. Now that my opponent has 3 cards in graveyard again, Psychic Frog can fly over my goblins. And I do not care about my goblins right now. I will chump block in a heartbeat given the opportunity to do so. Oh, not even an attack. Sure. So let's drop an artifact land. We'll chill with Experimental Synthesizer for right now and just funnel mana into Urza Saga. Goblin tokens can just chill as Psychic Frog deterrents. And Polluted Delta to graveyard off Surveil land. I don't know if my opponent has anything that is going to sweep all of my little tokens. My guess is no in game 1. But a Murktide or an Oculus or something like that getting into play will be pretty problematic for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a big creature, but opponent didn't make it fly. Let's just buy our time with goblins here. I imagine my Urza Saga token is going to eat it to a removal spell. Like, that makes sense to me based on this play pattern. Oops, all frogs. Make a friend. Cool. Bombardment is interesting. These are large creatures. I think I have a Shadow Spear in this deck. There's also like animation module. I'm not really doing the +1/+1 counter things right now. Let's just Shadow Spear. So yeah. I'm going to attempt equip, which is almost certainly not going to work. Show me your Fatal Push. Yeah. Oh shit, it's just working. Wow. Cool. I enjoyed that. 10 out of 10. Opponent at 4. I control 4 creatures. Did my opponent just bottom out? Just absolutely fucking mono lands over there? That is a main phase Kaito. So my opponent can stun a construct, which is what's happening. This is fine. Frogs on defense, frogs on defense. And double Goblin Bombardment for if one gets countered. Hell yeah. Nice. So let's whip Shadow Spear to construct token. And opponent concedes the game. I'm very happy to have won that one. I feel like that game could have gone worse for me. I wonder if my opponent lost the game when they didn't give Psychic Frog flying to just crash in and draw an extra card. I think it was on like turn 3 or turn 4. And I just chump blocked with a goblin. Like maybe getting that one card to deeper earlier lets them have a better chance of spiraling the game. I don't know here. I don't know if they were trying to preserve their graveyard for some other card, like Oculus or Murktide. It doesn't seem like it. I think my cards are kind of mid here. My red removal is not very good at killing Psychic Frog, which is problematic. My red removal will also not be very good at killing Murktide. A lot of the games I win might be wins based on Urza's Saga, like what I just did, where I distract my opponent with some stuff early, and then in the mid-game carry with Urza's Saga, but I only have 3 of those. I can play like this fucking Soul Guide Lantern guessing game of when do I need to nuke my opponent's graveyard to play around the specific card that they have in this game, which I think I'm going to do. This also just helps with my Metalcraft count for Mox Opal. I think I will keep a Pyrite Spellbomb in the deck just for artifact count. I don't feel conceptually very good about this. This is a single land. I am not into this one. I am going to try to believe in this. Am I keeping this for the potential later, or am I just keeping an artifact that I can put into play? I think I'm keeping this for the potential and trying to run hot. I think I'm losing, though. My opponent is on their 7 still, and Thoughtseizes me. The Kuldotha Rebirth is the best card in my hand, and it's not close. It's what lets me sacrifice the Synthesizer and look at the most cards here. Urza's Saga is absolutely not bad. We're not going to be playing that immediately. My goal is to play a Synthesizer on 2 and try to hit something else that I can play. A land is preferable, and then I can try to transition into this Urza's Saga beatdown situation. Alright, resolves. Okay, that's not quite the land that I wanted, but it'll be another look at a land, and it's another artifact in play. Mox Opal is now live off the top, in addition to lands, to just let me do the Urza's Saga thing. Yeah. Alright. I thought about this card, and this was part of the reason that I left a Pyrite Spellbomb in the deck. But again, the red removal here is not the best at lining up against a bunch of my opponent's other cards. Another Thoughtseize. I lose the Crime Novelist, and my opponent has a tapped land. Land, yes! Now I don't have to cycle this. I think I am just going to take my full Urza's Saga value. Alright. My Urza Saga token is going to die at some point. Let's make it die now. I'm going to go ahead and block the Bowmaster itself. Oh, it's an EE. Are you clearing the token at the cost of your own token? Negative. So making another token now doesn't make the most sense. Do I have a Pithing Needle? F. Alright. Float mana. I'm picking up Animation Module. Or Krenko. Let's get that going. So 3, Krenko. Opponent should potentially blow EE right here to kill this construct token, so I can't just sacrifice it. But it's a little bit weird, because I will have more tokens coming in the future. Subtlety, pitching a Psychic Frog. That's a little awkward right now, because I don't have the 3rd mana to cast it immediately. So we're going to bottom it, despite the fact that I really want it. Means that my animation module choice was awkward. Send in for 4. Are we doing this? We're doing this. Okay, I think I'm favored here. The world where I'm not favored is the world where my opponent just drops like an Oculus or a Murktide right now this turn. Psychic Frog is pretty good. Crime Novelist. Oh, we're so close. We're so close to greatness here. I'm going to go immediate redraw of land. That is a Soul Guide Lantern. Synthesizer. That's a Krenko that I can't cast, which is very awkward. I'll just eat some instant or sorcery from my opponent's graveyard here. I can redraw at the cost of a mana. This is not how I wanted this turn to go. We're stuck. Which means Psychic Frog gets to start doing Psychic Frog things, unfortunately. Oh, that's the disaster case. My opponent either had or top decked a Kaito, and now we'll have both Kaito and Psychic Frog as card advantage engines. If I stumble for another turn or two, I am going to die. Opponent junks a counterspell. This is not what I need. Going to try and hit a land or a rebirth. That is a land. Going to drop a Goblin Bombardment, hedging for the future, and pass the turn. Next turn, I can play Crime Novelist, sacrifice Soul Guide Lantern, put a +1/+1 counter here, and we're off to the races. Because I will put a +1/+1 counter on this, make a red, use the red to make a creature, and then I can start sacking things to Goblin Bombardment. Kaito does Kaito things. 10. Surveil 2. What if my opponent just has nothing? What if they just have nothing? Just no interaction. Yeah, play your frog. Tap low on mana. So here's the dream. Are we ready? Crime Novelist. Why do you hate fun? Huh? Why do you hate fun? Draw? Tapped land. Rough. Am I dead? Not quite, but very close. I don't get another turn. Well, I get my next turn. I don't get another one beyond that. 4 damage on the surface. Surveil 2. Alright. Battlecry Goblin. I don't think that's doing it. I think I need to be mana efficient here. So I Experimental Synthesizer. That is a Crime Novelist. So I cast it. No, nope. No fun for Phil. I am dead on board between Kaito activation and discarding a couple of cards to Frog. We gave it the old college try. Do I want to board in a Pithing Needle for Engineered Explosives for the exact scenario that I came across in this game? / some Kaito hedging. Maybe fine. Could get rid of the Pyrite Spellbomb, or just not play 3 Soul Guide Lanterns. Soul Guide Lantern being able to sacrifice immediately for Crime Novelist is worth something. Land, star, play, or what about Ragavan? I'm going to keep the hand. Probably just lead on land Ragavan, though, and just do the thing that is objectively powerful on its own. I'm going to play out Mox Opal. I don't really want to lose the Mox to a Thoughtseize. The Mox is what's going to help me cast my powerful 3-drops. Alright, we're chilling. See if Ragavan just gets pushed. I would like Ragavan to just connect. The treasure token's a big deal. Ooh. 17. And push. Now, I would like to hit a land with Experimental Synthesizer very badly. Very, very, very badly. That is a Krenko. That is not going to do it. This does not currently tap for mana. That treasure token was going to turn on Mox Opal, and also was my way to just keep playing things. So we're going to kind of end up further in awkward territory, as I probably have to throw another Experimental Synthesizer into play to try to hit land drops. Tamiyo, you got it. Sure. 14. I would probably personally do those in the other order. I lose the Synthesizer. Life is awkward. Urza Saga is a great pickup. Like, literally one of my best possible draws there, I think. Urza's Saga is aggressive. It is a sink for my mana, and the Pithing Needle that I boarded in can hedge against the backside of Tamiyo as well. Really, really, really big deal. Dunking a land there. But my opponent can mid-range pretty hard with Tamiyo stuff. Mountain is whatever as a draw. We'll take it. I'll just pass. It is a Bowmasters. You've got it. 19. We're not really intending on drawing cards with these anyway. These are growing Urza Saga Construct tokens right now. Looking way ahead in this game, I could potentially see an Engineered Explosives really fucking up my day. Preordain, 1 top, 1 bottom. Get your clue. I'm going to make an Urza Saga token. Is it dead on arrival? Not yet. Let's make a friend. Animation module Krenko is something that I can set up. I can just get Shadow Spear and make these constructs really annoying. Potentially big enough to just power through blockers and kill Tamiyo. The Tamiyo hasn't flipped yet. If I Pithing Needle Tamiyo, my opponent just doesn't flip it. I think we will go the Shadow Spear route. It probably means that my opponent gets a tempo positive play here, just like doing a Fatal Push or something to take out this construct token. It is Sink into Stupor instead. Same overall effect. Opponent has a lot of resources here. They've got 3 cards plus soon to be 3 clue tokens from ThrabenU. So hopefully I can use time as a resource that is positive in my direction. So there's the attack. Now my opponent can flip that ThrabenU if they want. They do not want. So let's deploy Krenko. Ooh. Whatever. I guess that means I get to hit like a truck with a construct token here. Not the end of the world, given that my opponent is at 11. Trample? Wonder if my opponent forgot about Trample when they made that block. Murktide Regent, which is currently an 8/8 to my 7/7. Okay. Mox Opal is an awkward draw there. It is an artifact, but not one that grows me for Murktide Regent purposes. I think that means that I am just sacking the Synthesizer here for a redraw. At a Soul Guide Lantern. I mean, I'll cast it. We're back to a 7/7, but I have netted a 2/2 in play. I don't think I'm cracking any of these for Bowmaster reasons. I'm chilling here, which means that my opponent gets to start doing stuff with clue tokens, which is not favorable for me. I don't think they get to turn Murktide Regent sideways yet. Cracking a clue. Another land. Yes. You very desperately need a card in graveyard. You could have gotten Revolt for a Fatal Push other ways. You don't need Revolt for a Fatal Push. Nope, we have just gotten the full send it oops in chat. That happens. I wonder if opponent was thinking, I'm going to transform my ThrabenU, and then did not transform their ThrabenU prior to playing the other one. Alright. Any artifact here is pretty reasonable. That is a land. That is not reasonable. We're going to chill. I don't think redrawing is correct, because I just need any artifact to let me tango with this. And if I can tango with Murktide Regent, I can also attack in with Samurai Token at the same time. But my opponent drawing through all of these clues, very bad for me. That's not good. I may reach a point in the next couple of turns now that these are gone where it is correct for me to just redraw and attempt to find something that deals the final points of damage. Cards like Koldotha Rebirth become very strong. This is a 3/3 attacking in as of right now. If I equip Shadow Spear, I don't think I'm going to redraw yet. Oh, that's sick. Battlecry Goblin. Stern's Golding. Very good use of mana. I will equip my token. I'm sending in for 3 with Trample. This presumably gets answered, right? Because my opponent was confident enough to attack with Murktide Regent. That is a card on top. That's a chump block. My opponent is at 1. Redraws are now live, assuming the final, like one of these final cards is not a Bowmaster, which already would have been played. I think card draw is safe right now. Therefore, I should draw cards. Ooh. Now I keep these artifacts in play. All right. There's cracking a clue token to draw whatever it is my opponent put on top of their deck. They are also getting low on time now. I just noticed that. Opponent is sending in with both. The card that they kept on top is presumably some sort of removal spell that they could not cast immediately. Oh, it's a Kaito. Seems good. So my opponent can stun my creatures. I'm at 9. I just die next turn. Yeah. Fuck. I'm so close. Hold on. Do I need to actually do this now? Or can I wait to do this until my turn because of draws like Crime Novelist? Yeah, I can just wait. Alright. Seems good. 1 damage. Crime Novelist. Here we fucking go. AK red. Counter. Draw a card. Bridge is not what I want. We get to try again. Cycle through. Counter. Make a red. Need like a Goblin Bombardment here. Why did my opponent concede? I don't have haste. I don't have any damage. What is my draw? Soul Guide Lantern. I get to do it again. What is my next draw? Battlecry Goblin. Battlecry Goblin haste. That gets there. Do I have the mana to equip the Shadow Spear? So I have 3 mana. This costs me 1 down to 2 mana when I play this. Or did my opponent just concede because I am at 8? Arctide doesn't kill me. GG. So something that I am noticing with this deck is that when everything goes fine, it is powerful, but it's so easy for this deck to get disrupted. So for example, if my Ragavan does not connect and make a treasure, this entire hand just pretty much instantly falls apart. So like if I eat a Fatal Push here, it's a disaster, right? All right, you get your food. I will attempt to do Ragavan crimes, which presumably will work. 16. Make a treasure. We're very bad at going from 1 to 3, unfortunately. That's cool. Don't think we're doing that. So this is artifact number 2. Trigger. Krenko is not castable here. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to put another synthesizer in play so that I can start doing cool things immediately. Mox Opal, I don't think I need to. I'm going to put the Mox Opal in play, though. All right, I'm going to pass there. There's a Temple Garden. Opponent is at 14 already. There is a Samwise and a Gilded Goose. Getting another food. My Ragavan may or may not connect this turn. I imagine that my opponent wants to keep their Samwise, though. Send it. All right, they're going to junk a Goose. Now there's a weird pause. Why is there a weird pause? We're not at, like, Court of Calling mana. I can play a Crime Novelist. I don't really want to sacrifice this treasure token, though. Since my Ragavan didn't connect, I think I'm just going to do this. There's some pretty high upside of hitting something like a Kuldotha Rebirth here. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is unfortunately not castable. We have whiffed on both experimental synthesizers, so this was 1 red mana, contribute a third of Metalcraft. Not where we want to be. Burden Catacombs, so much Goose, no attacks from my opponent. Fable is not castable here. I am just kind of in this same awkward spot where if my Ragavan doesn't connect, I can't really effectively get Crime Novelist going. I'm just kind of stuck on resources. All right, what bad, terrible thing is happening? 11, a Court of Calling for 1. There is a Cauldron Familiar. So my opponent gets a food token. When this enters, I lose a life, my opponent gains a life. My opponent is going to go ahead and block here. So now my opponent can sacrifice a food to return this to the battlefield. So as soon as they have a way to sacrifice the Cauldron Familiar, I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to put a Crime Novelist in play, but now that I've sacrificed that initial treasure, I don't have the ability to sacrifice an artifact and get things going here. I still have Metalcraft, but I expect that I die on my opponent's turn. Surveil Land? More Goose? And we're chilling. I'm not dead yet. However, I cannot take any cool game actions. I will play a Goblin Bombardment that I can't do anything with yet. I am just a little short here. And in terms of mana, I'm also squeezed enough that this doesn't really make sense. Cauldron Familiar comes back, doing this whole thing again. 13, 18. Oh, there's another Cauldron Familiar. Now my opponent just is going to manually make food with Gilded Goose's activated abilities. Sure. And passes the turn. This one, or just sack? Maybe just sack. I get a mana out of this innately. From Crime Novelist. There's a Krenko, which I'm squeezed on mana, so I can't cast. Am I fine inefficiently casting this trying to hit a land? I think the answer is yes, because I fear my death. Trigger, not hit a land. Just 3 drops in exile that I could never, ever, ever cast. I guess I can now Goblin Bombardment, kill 2 things, and kill a Samwise. That is a thing that I am capable of doing. I don't think I likely win this game if I lose both of my creatures, though. Like, I probably just get buried by a birthing ritual or equivalent eventually. I don't think I am going to attempt to kill a Samwise here. All right. Oh, that's just a food. That's fine. You can make food. Yeah. So, my opponent gets to look at their top 7, then they can sacrifice a creature. If they do, they put a creature into play with mana value X or less from among them, where X is 1 plus the value. So I'm not going to have a window here where I can just go like, oh, they revealed a 3-drop, I need to kill this. Innkeeper, whenever another creature you control enters, you gain a life. You've got it. Krenko. Alright. I will play a Krenko. Going to go ahead and sacrifice an experimental synthesizer. Go ahead and put a Krenko trigger on bottom. Crime Novelist 1 on top of that. Will I pay a red? I will pay a red. Put a +1/+1 counter on each thingy I control. So now I can sacrifice creatures to start messing with my opponent's board. I'm not infinite here. I can't keep sacrificing things, but this is a good start. I'm fine attacking. I think I'm fine attacking. We're going to let this combat damage go through here. Opponent's at 9. I'm interested in sniping this Innkeeper when my opponent puts Cauldron Familiar thing on the stack. I don't have extra mana here for Krenko. Let's Goblin Bombardment, target the Innkeeper, just throw a Goblin at it. I'm supposed to throw the Samurai first, actually. The Goblin can get bigger, the Samurai can't. And then this is going to happen again. Triggering those things again. Carrion Feeder, there's the sack outlet, so I now need to kill Samwise. Which unfortunately costs me 2 creatures here, including the Krenko. Now my opponent can do a bunch of Carrion Feeder bullshit that probably just results in my death anyway, right? And I can't actually kill Carrion Feeder with Goblin Bombardment because my opponent just responds. Birthing Ritual trigger. Yeah, okay. So I die here. So my opponent sacks a thing to Carrion Feeder, and then activates Cauldron Familiar doing this, and each time another artifact or creature is going to be put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent is going to lose 1 life. This loop is going to continue until I die. My opponent's deck did not do their thing very quickly, but I just could not cast my cards to save my life. Literally. Grafdigger's Cage seems fantastic here. Soul Guide Lantern seems okay. Pyrite Spellbomb seems okay. I think if I'm going to board in like 6 cards, I probably am not Galv Blasting, but I'm going to think about it. I'm going to board out some 3-drops based on that game. Am I winning this via like Goblin aggro most of the time? Maybe. The Ragavans are awkward. My opponent has a lot of creatures that wall them. Maybe I get rid of the Ragavans despite the fact that they are very good. Keep this to help with a combo finish. Sure. The ETB tapped artifact lands are a little awkward here. I don't know that I'm going to get going fast enough to win this one. Godless Shrine, Gravecrawler, sure. Going to get another ETB tapped land out of the way here. And I think put a Soul Guide Lantern into play, despite the fact that it is not removing a card on entry here. In some timelines, I could want to play Crime Novelist next turn and also get a mana immediately out of it. Birthing Ritual. You've got it. I'm going to take 2 here, and we'll see if my opponent upgrades Gravecrawler into Samwise. You've got it. Saga, Crime Novelist, past turn. Gravecrawler is not castable from graveyard. Now I just need to find more mana. That's so fucking annoying. I found the mana, but like now I don't get to deploy a 3-drop here. I get to deploy a 1-drop instead. Alright. There's a Swamp. There's an Apprentice. This is certainly bad for me. Goose. You've got it. So I take 2 in combat. And my opponent's Birthing Ritual is going to grind me into dust. I imagine that I am now going to die before I do any reasonable plays. Apprentice goes. Opponent picks up Warren Soul Trader. Yeah, I am probably a singular card away from death here. I can't get this going immediately. I can maybe churn through a few cards next turn. but I expect to die this turn. Oh, Warren Soul Trader, plus Gravecrawler. So now my opponent has Fatal Pushed my creature, Warren Soul Trader, and replay Gravecrawler from graveyard. I just take 6 combat damage. Fetch. Opponent's just gonna Surveil before the Birthing Ritual. Servo token turns into cat. Servo token turns into cat. So now my opponent can sacrifice cat with Warren Soul Trader, return it with a food, create a food with Samwise, and I am unfortunately dead. We put 1 win on the board, technically, in this league. Alright. That was enjoyable, but we got our butts kicked. Overall thoughts on the deck list. John, I think there were some drastic improvements over the previous version, but I think there is a ceiling to what you are doing here. I don't think what you're doing is strong enough for a competitive modern environment. I think you could have a lot of fun bringing this to, your F&M or your Thursday night casual modern event, but I don't think this is competitive enough for modern. I don't think we are fast enough, and I don't think we are consistent enough, and I think the consistency is the biggest problem here. We were a 21 land deck, which is fine in theory. We only have 10 3-drops, but we were absolutely having trouble casting them. And since the deck is built around these cards, when you have trouble casting the cards your deck is built around, that is a bit of a problem. Metalcraft for Mox Opal was fine in the mid-game, but often not good enough in the early turns. Our curve was too high for Experimental Synthesizer, so we were incredibly consistently just missing on Experimental Synthesizer, and there were so many times where I was just playing Synthesizer as a Hail Mary. I need to hit a land to continue the game. So there's some very cool interactions here. I do think this is good, innovative deck building, but I don't think I would want to play this one again. There are also a lot of hands where if a Ragavan connects and makes a treasure token so that Mox Opal gets turned on, like, the hand is bananas, and if that falls apart, the entire hand just dies. And that is very feel bad to me. Current Magic the Gathering is so much more about playing individually powerful cards that work well together than it is about building synergistic shells. And this is a really cool, neat synergistic shell that is just not keeping up with the powerful cards my opponent was playing against us. The Psychic Frogs and Tamios and Murktide Regents of the world were either getting card advantage so much more easily than what we were doing, or killing us quickly in a singular card. And we don't really have cards that singularly win the game on their own in this deck. We don't have the ability to pave the way for Ragavan to let Ragavan just take over a game. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give this one the thumbs down. It didn't quite work. There was some improvement here. And John, I hope my thoughts today have been useful for you. Folks, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. And if you end up needing some cards, you know where to go. See ya!